Welcome to Overview of Microsoft Field Service webinar. I would like to say a few things to set a stage. These events are all about you and are all about education. So should you have any questions, please type them in and we will monitor the questions and we'll be addressing those in the Q&A session. The reason we are putting the webinars is because we do understand that the Turnkey Technologies and Microsoft, that technology playing field is changing and changing fast. When you think about the personal experiences, I do order pizza online via the app, and I expect to get a text message whenever the driver is dispatched. And I know when they're going to be arriving because I have two small screaming kids who are hungry, who wants food, and that gets mama cranky, and I don't like that. Talking about the kids, my kids use technology way better than the grandparents do. So obviously from market trend perspective, the customer and end user, aka your staff, is already experiencing the technology shifts and so forth. When you think 2020, millennials will be in the workforce, and a lot of companies will be almost dominated from the workforce perspective by the millennium work labor. So we do understand that managers of progressive businesses are asking questions about how does a business-to-business playing field or even business-to-customer playing field will look like. What are the expectations? What are the views of the next 2 years, next 5 years potentially looking like from a technology perspective? So if we take a quick look at the agenda, Dave Clark will be looking at the digital world of Microsoft. What are we seeing from the Microsoft technology point of view and from the field service technology that Microsoft is offering. Then we'll dive straight into the demonstration by David Bonney, which we will look at the field service functionality. The beautiful thing about what Microsoft brings to the table is that they have invested millions of dollars to build a best-in-class technology. The best part about it is that you don't have to be a multi-million large enterprise organization to take advantage of that. So our goal is to arm you with information that will help you as a company in adapting the technology for your needs. So David Bonney will also be talking about the field service assessment, how you have expertise from Microsoft and Turnkey Technologies available to you to potentially figure out how does the plan for next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years could look like for you to take advantage of some of these great tools that Microsoft brings to the table. So with that said, I would like to take a very short minute to talk about the Turnkey Technologies overview. Next slide, please. Our key objective is to empower your competitive advantage. Well, how do we do it? We think of ourselves as a business transformation experts. A lot of customers will provide the feedback to us and, hey, gee guys, we just had a few conversations and you get it what we need. So we focus on delivering better experience to your customers, better processes for your workforce, and greater profitability to your bottom line. Obviously, everybody likes talking about bottom line, but satisfied customers, and even more so, satisfied and happy employees, the staff members who can use the technology that is advanced, that makes their life easier, is also very important to address the bottom line. We have many tools from our point of view. We have 50+ certified professionals. We work locally, nationally, globally. We have a number of different customers all around the United States. The couple of unique things about us are that we've been in business for 22 years. We have a number of certified professionals who work with Microsoft technology, but they are also CPAs. They come from financial background, from manufacturing background, from professional services, from medical services backgrounds. So that allows us to leverage that knowledge that these individuals bring from the field in applying the technology changes, transforming your business via technology implementations. Obviously, we have people who write the code, do the data integration work, do installations, and so forth. But once again, our objective as the Turnkey Technologies, and that's why we work with Microsoft, is to really help you empower your competitive advantage as a company, as an organization, to help with your mission. And there are a number of different ways how we can do it. So without any further ado, I will introduce David Clark, who is, as I mentioned, worldwide global black belt in the field service team. And I'm very eager to hear more about overview of digital Microsoft and Dave's perspective from Microsoft point of view about a field service technology that Microsoft brings to the table. Dave?
Yes, thanks a lot, Rokas. Can you hear me all right? So hey everyone,
Yes,
I'm
I can.
Dave Clark from the Microsoft Field Services team. I'm very excited to be here with Turnkey today and talk about Dynamics 365 and how to upgrade your field service operation. So it's definitely an exciting time for Microsoft business applications, where previously you had CRM and ERP platforms, each with many different features and functionalities. We now have the new Dynamics 365 platform that allows you to pick and choose which specific functions you want. And it allows your business application to grow with your business, but at the same time remain on the same platform. So in the beginning, your organization may only need customer service case management, but as it grows, you can easily add on project management or sales and marketing functions. Additionally, all these apps work on a common framework, so a customer and customer service is a customer and field service, and a sales contact can also be a project contact. And of course, all of these apps have the best in industry integration with Office products, such as Outlook and Excel. So you can see CRM data easily in Excel. So it's very exciting, but today we're going to focus in on the field service solution. So what exactly is field service? It's very broad. You can think that there are actually a lot of companies where the majority of their work is taking place outside of their office, where they're actually traveling to the customer's location. Think of the guy who comes to your house and fixes your air conditioning unit, or the health inspector who goes to different restaurants and reviews equipment and practices. These people are doing the majority of their work at the customer's location. To do this, you need to schedule and coordinate these workers to various customer locations throughout the day, and this can be very tough. So much so that Microsoft Dynamics has created a product for this sole purpose. So in simple, field service is the methods of managing a mobile workforce and delivering your products and your services directly to the client's location. This is very tough in that you have to send the right people who have the right skill set. You need to make sure that they're going to the right place at the right time, and when they show up at the customer location, they need to be prepared to deliver remarkable services. Most importantly, you can think of any scenario where something needs to be installed, maintained, or repaired, in which our solution will be a good fit. And this requires coordination across customers who are raising requests, dispatchers who are in charge of scheduling all these workers to different locations, what we call the field tech, who's the guy who's showing up to the customer location, and as well as inventory manager and service manager, who's responsible for remarkable service. But the truth of the matter is the state of the industry for these field service organizations is pretty rough right now. Contributing to that, first we have outdated and unconnected systems. Many of these field service workers are still using paper and pencil and a clipboard when they show up on site to deal with customers. They may use their phone for certain functions, but they also have a lot of legacy hardware for other functions, such as scanning equipment. At the same time, these companies have a tough time scheduling and planning the routes for all of these technicians throughout their days. So many of these workers will visit 10, 15 locations in a single day, but they don't have a really good way of planning out that route for each technician each day. And one of the worst things you can see as a field service organization is two guys going to the same location or perhaps passing each other on the road, which means that they're not optimizing their route and they're not minimizing their total travel time, which wastes a lot of time and gas. Next is inaccurate arrival time, and many of us have experienced this. Maybe the cable guy was going to show up to your house, and he said, yes, we'll be there between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. So they give you a huge 5-hour window, and then they end up showing up at 6 p.m. So with our solution, we try to avoid that, and we say we give a better 1-hour time window. Additionally, what's plaguing this industry is a terrible first-time fix rate. And many of us have experienced this as well. Have you ever had someone show up to your house to maybe fix your refrigerator, and they say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to fix this today. I'm going to need to come back tomorrow or next week, or maybe even send a different person. At the same time, in the background of all of this are increasing resource costs in healthcare and overtime, as well as increasing customer expectations. Like Rokas had mentioned earlier, your customers are able to use mobile banking and deposit checks from their phone. They're able to order pizza from Domino's on their phone and get text messages when their pizza has arrived. In short, customers are expecting better customer experience with everything they order. So Dynamics 365 and Microsoft Field Service, we have a solution for all of these. So the first is outdated, unconnected systems. Well, the main thing that we can do based on the mobile revolution is that we can bring all of these legacy devices and go paperless by consolidating everything onto an easy-to-use mobile application for your field technicians. We have a mobile application that runs on iOS, Android, and Windows devices, and this is utilizing the bring your own device movement where your field workers can actually use their own device that they use for their personal use on the job as well. And what this allows them to do is view their schedules updated in real time. They can utilize the maps and directions from their device, perhaps Google Maps or Bing Maps. They have barcode scanning and RFID scanning. They have the power of email, text, and voice notifications. They also have the power of equipment manuals, and that a field technician will have access to any manual for any piece of equipment he's working on. By going paperless, he doesn't have to go back to his truck and keep viewing different manuals, as well as with the ability to collect digital signatures. So next is poor schedule and route planning. We have seen a lot of organizations using sticky notes, but we don't really need to do this anymore. What we offer right in CRM is an interactive dynamic schedule board that's going to show all of your technicians, all of their appointments, all of your unscheduled work orders or work tickets and customer appointments. At the same time, show them an interactive map that's going to show them the route that they're taking throughout their day. And later on in the demo, we're going to show this map. Inaccurate arrival time. So again, we want to be able to give customers a shorter window of when we're going to arrive. And one way we do this is when the technician is on his way to the customer appointment, what we do is we send the customer a link, and then they can actually view the real-time location of the field technician as they approach the customer's location. So as a customer, I can log on and see a very, very accurate estimate of when they're going to arrive, and I can prepare my schedule around this. Also, terrible first-time fix rate. There are really 3 reasons why a lot of field service organizations have a poor first-time fix rate. The first one tends to do with inventory, and that sometimes a field technician will show up on site and he won't have the tools or the parts to fix whatever he's working on. Second reason why they might have a poor first-time fix rate is they may not have the knowledge or expertise or the information to do a good job. Perhaps they don't have the equipment manual, or they don't have the right certification, or they don't have the right access to a certain building. And the third one is they don't have access to customer and equipment information. So sometimes when a technician shows up on site, they need to be able to understand who the customer is and the customer history. Well, again, our mobile application is solving a lot of these problems. So for inventory, what we do is we empower field technicians to know what inventory is on their truck or at a nearby warehouse, and what inventory they're going to need for this week's jobs or this month's jobs so that they can plan ahead. Like I mentioned earlier, we also give technicians the ability to view any manual or any how-to article right from their mobile device. And we also empower them with customer and equipment information. So when they arrive on site, they know the customer's warranty information, how long that they've been a customer, if the customer has any special requests, and they use all this to deliver better customer service. So typically with field service, the solution is the best fit for when anything needs to be installed, maintained, or repaired. And for us, this typically means medical manufacturing and equipment. Think of the guy who's going and fixing an MRI machine or optometry equipment, or the person who's going to your house or business to fix the HVAC unit, or someone who's in charge of the surveillance cameras and alarm systems for big facilities. But in truth, we also work with any scenario where you have a mobile workforce that needs to be scheduled. And we've seen a lot of success with traveling nurses who go from patient to patient, perhaps in rural areas, perhaps in cities, helping administer drugs and better care. As well as fitness clubs. A lot of gyms are using our solution to schedule and dispatch personal trainers to people's homes or also shared locations. So you might ask yourself, what are some reasons you may want to invest in Dynamics 365 field service? And here are some common things that we hear from our customers. They want to be able to schedule work orders and customer appointments to the closest technician. I want automatic notifications sent to customers whenever a schedule is changed. If you're running late or perhaps a schedule is canceled for whatever reason, someone's stuck in traffic, you need to be able to communicate every single action with the customer, keep them up to date. Other reasons, you might want to be able to reduce overtime costs by fitting jobs into a resource's working hours, complete more jobs per week, or better manage inventory. There are many, many reasons which Dave and Rokas will get into after this. So key questions we'll be addressing during this demo. Is it possible to increase the number of daily service calls while also improving customer satisfaction? Again, using the power of automation and intelligent routing and a better client connection, we can achieve this. Can I improve my first-time fix rates through mobile technology that provides access to inventory, manuals, and equipment history? Yes. Empowering your field technicians with service history, equipment manuals, and have their service align better with their trucks, warehouses, and purchase orders saves time. How would we benefit if service technicians were able to easily record the work they performed and identify additional service opportunities? Well, again, everything that the field technician is doing on their mobile application and all the work that they're recording is in real time sent to the back office, so the back office can begin using that information and, let's say, prepare billing scenarios. So the mobile technology will easily capture any details that the technician is performing on site and have it sent to the back office, and this helps promote a better customer relationship. And could you increase profits if you understood your service costs, margins, service trends, and other revenue and cost factors? When we work with these field service organizations, a lot of them don't know what their first-time fix rate is. So first we want to begin measuring that. And secondly, they don't know what their highest margin service is. Maybe they're making more money performing preventative maintenance than they are with doing repairs. Or maybe they need to know what is the true cost of onboarding a new client. These are things that our solutions are intended to give. So with this, I'm going to hand it off to David Bonney, who's from Turnkey. He's actually going to show the system that I've been talking about. Dave?
Thanks, Dave. Great introduction. Hopefully everyone can see my screen fine.
I can see it.
So good news here. So Dave talked about several key things. One is you need to be able to get more work out of your service technicians, deliver things in a predictable manner so that when you schedule services, that person arrives at, within the customer's expectations, as well as, cut down the travel costs. So this tool is a really awesome tool for accomplishing that. So I always look at this and say colors are good, white space is bad. So what you see here is you could see the status of the work orders that you've got scheduled for each person. So this is Jorge over here, Luke, Matthew, and Dan Jump up here. So you can see what they've got scheduled. You could click in and find out more detail on those work orders, but the key thing is that this is very interactive, it's dynamic, so as your service technicians go on site, you actually get notification that they're on site through colors changing in these boxes over here. So if we look at this, we see that we have 3, which are green, 4 actually, that are actually in progress right now, which means your service technician is at the site. You can see what the schedule is over here, the blue ones, which are the schedules that, basically the work orders that are scheduled for technicians. You can see the travel time that's involved. So if you look at that bar that comes out, that represents the travel time that's associated with that work order. Over here, you can see a map of where these technicians are at. So if I wanted to look at Luke in particular, I could come in here and just click on that work order, and I could see where Luke is at and what he's got scheduled in his route over here. Let's say, if you look at Luke, he's only got basically 2 work orders out there, so we're seeing some other work that's right in his area. What we could do is we could interactively drag this down, and it would actually pop up a little box here and say, do you want to schedule that work order? So we could add work orders to Luke's route by just interactively looking at this map, dragging it over, and then having that work order added to them. Some of the other just features in this, so we do have a limited screen space here, so one of the requirements or one of the questions may be, how do we handle this if we have dozens of service technicians or even hundreds? So we have this capability over here where we can filter. And by the way, this is the latest stuff, so this is a significant upgrade over what was in 2015. But over here is a filter that we can filter by territory, we can filter by skills. If we had different business lines, we could filter by that. And all of that lets us have multiple of these, basically these schedule boards over here, so that you can have a dispatcher in one region have a separate schedule board than a dispatcher in the other region, each managing their own resources. Whenever it's necessary, you can actually reach in and drag another resource from another region if you have some specific skill that's not in your region or other things. And all of this is handled very dynamically through this board. The other thing is this board is, as things are dragged onto it, and I'm going to give an example right now of dragging something onto this board, is what happens is it automatically updates the service technician that something has been scheduled. So as things happen on the board and as the service technicians are in the field doing work, they are actually getting notifications that their work is, something's been scheduled for them that they're not aware of. It automatically appears. And I'm going to go into the mobile view of this. So this kind of describes, just to summarize, the value in how we can increase the number of service calls, how we can improve the efficiency and the resource utilization of our field service technicians, as well as how we can improve overall, the customer expectations around our delivery. So now let's switch over to the mobile client. So mobile client, in this case, this is actually just a Galaxy Note 4 that I got basically for free. So it doesn't, it runs on about any device, mobile device you have out there. I've actually done a demo before on my phone. It's a little bit smaller factor, so that's kind of the downside of that, but it works just fine. So as we talked about, some of the key things are making sure we can deliver that service the first time and make sure we have what we need. So let's go ahead and drill down into that. Let's look at our inventory dashboard. So what I'm showing on here, this is what the service technician might do the first thing in the morning when they start out. They might want to say, do I have the parts that I need on my truck? And what this is filtering out, so this is somewhat a simplified view for this demo, but it's showing the parts that they need, and it's showing basically the inventory that's available on their truck. So one of the key things to this is, as inventory, which comes from a warehouse, is moved to a truck, you can use your mobile device here to update that inventory is moved to your truck, or you can scan in, if you have barcodes and things like that, you can actually scan those parts as they are moved to your truck. The other thing, if you have like major components that were ordered specifically for a customer, a lot of those will be barcoded anyway, so that's definitely a way to record that those are being moved to the truck. The other thing that's important with this is, and let's switch back to the main view, is inventory. The system allows you, if you have inventory, and we've done some customization around this even, where if you have inventory and it's not on the truck, you may need to stop at a Lowe's or a Home Depot, pick up some parts. We have the capability of being able to scan those parts in very quickly and load those to basically your truck inventory so that's available for work. So you kind of start your day by seeing and making sure you have what you need on your truck. Now let's go to the booking section. So what this is the work order that I just added, that I drug up, that work order number 56. And let's go in and look at what that looks like to the service technician. Okay, so service technician, and what it's doing is just doing a quick sync since we just loaded it out there. But the service technician is now getting something that was just loaded to their device just a few minutes ago. And typically what they may want to do is start off by showing that they're traveling, which is going to be a different color that shows up on that schedule board. So we'll go ahead and change. So I'm Dan Jump, and I just indicated I'm traveling. That immediately updates the schedule board that we saw that our dispatchers are looking at to let them know we're traveling to the site. Now, being Dan Jump and new to the area, I may not know exactly how to get there. So I need to go down. There's actually a map that's on here that shows, let me get back out and get back into this again. Yeah, just take a pause here for a second. Let me go back out and sync up. Having a little bit of trouble here with my mobile device today, which is, there it is. We're back on that. Let's go back into bookings again. Let's bring this back up. There we go. Now we got the full thing out there. So we had a little bit of time to sync up. I apologize for that. Typically, Dan wouldn't pick it up quite as quick as I did. But we said we changed the status to traveling. You can see that got saved. Let's go down and look at the next step. Dan may need to travel to that location, so we'll look at the map. Here's a location of the map. That red dot is where Dan is currently at. And we can, if we click this button right here, it would actually show us navigation all the way to the customer site. I'm not going to do that because I'm sitting in St. Louis right now and it gives me a couple days to get there, but it will actually go ahead and update me all the way from St. Louis. Now let's go back and look at the information that's related to this particular work order so Dan can see what needs to happen next. Give it a minute here. It's syncing up a little slower this morning for some reason. It always happens when I'm on a demo. But what we're going to do is go back and look at the other thing that we talked about was that it's important to know not only your equipment, okay, but what's happened to that equipment, what kind of warranty information. So what we're looking at right now is some information on the customer, which is a service account. If we had so this is what you can do is actually set up standard services and have those automatically fill in parts that you may need as well as service tasks. In this case, and it would have a description, but we're seeing here primary incident customer asset. So that's the piece of equipment that we're going to be working on. One of the value propositions is that we can look at that piece of equipment and we can see other work orders that have been performed against that. So right now we see that there's 4 other work orders that have been performed against that piece of equipment. Let's go back and look at one of them. So we're going back, looking at that work order. If we go down here, we got the work order summary. We can see what kind of work was performed on it. We can also go up here and we can go into our notes section and look at what was actually done with it. So here we go. And we look at notes, we see that work was performed, but we'll open that note. We'll not only see that, but we can get a picture of the piece of equipment, so that may be a picture that the customer actually took while they were on site, as well as a description of that work. So we can navigate back. So now we know the history of what was done on that piece of equipment. We're back on our work order. Now let's say we're ready to start work. So we have information on the equipment, what was done. I didn't point it out, but actually on that equipment it also had the warranty information on there, if there was any warranty on it. All of that information is brought up when you actually click through and look at that customer equipment. So let's go through now and look at, we're still on the customer equipment, let's go back and look at the services and what we need to do. So let's go ahead and bring up our service tasks. We can see down here we have several service tasks underneath the service task section. Remember, part of what we're doing is this has got to be easy for a service technician to use. So everything we do, we want it to click and swipe, minimal keying in of information on a mobile device. So if you look at this, it says this is a task that needs to be performed. This is significant if you're going to be doing preventive maintenance or things like that, where you have a set of tasks that have to be performed according to that agreement. In this case, this is a task we set up, but we're going to say that task is complete. So all we do is just swipe that button over there from no to yes, which means our task has been completed. If we wanted to capture any notes or any activities, anything that we did, pictures, that type of thing, there's an area on there to do that. To save that, we just click to the left, save and close, and now that task is showing up as being complete. We'll go ahead and complete the second task real quick, and you can see how easy this is to do. Actually, compared to doing this on a laptop even, this is easier to actually do this on a mobile device than it is to do it on even a laptop, any kind of computer, just because of the way the user interface works. We've got parts, so we know that we looked at this earlier, how we're going to allocate inventory to trucks. So we have parts that are on that truck, and we're going to use them for this customer. In this case, we'll say, yes, we use this part, so we'll change estimated to used. We can change the quantity. We can add parts if there are parts we use that we didn't anticipate using. And once again, we just click back out, save and close, and everything's done just through simple clicking. Same with, we'll just go ahead and say we use this lithium battery also. Same type of scenario here. It's been used. Save and close. Lastly, so we've actually gone out, we've gone through the steps, we've used the products that we needed to use and replace on this particular service unit. So now we can go through and actually perform, actually connect this with what we're going to build in. So we'll look at the service here. So this is our service. So one of the nice things about using a mobile device is that you can also use the ability to speak and have that change the text. So I'm going to show you how a service technician may fill this out without actually having to use this little keyboard down here. And that's just simple. Gradient coil replaced, period. Calibration completed. So rather than having to key that in, we can actually use this capability to fill out the work order. We'll change it from estimated to used, and we can, that relates all of our hours. We put the billable hours on there, so that'll all equate to what the customer will see on their bill. Save and close. Oops, I didn't put the duration in there. My bad. Oops, I have a little trouble with my mobile device. I'll just leave it 4. Okay, so now we'll get out of here, save and close. Okay, so now we can say basically we've completed this work order and we're ready to head back to the next work order, or head off to the next work order. So we'll go back up here. Whoops, got all the way out of it. Let me get back into it again. My fingers are not as good as it used to be, so I'll change this from traveling to completed. Get back out, save our work order, save and close, and now our work order is complete. So now what we've demonstrated with this, although the way that I finger through this sometimes is a little bit clumsy just because this isn't a real big device, but it does work pretty easily, as you can see. It's swipe, it's click, you can speak to it, and we're going to go back now, and everything that you have available on your server is available on this device. So let's go back and look at our schedule board again. So the key to this is that we've been doing the work and we've been actually updating this as we go along. Let's see if we switch this. It shows we're a little past here, but you can see it's actually been in communications with our schedule board here. Our technician knows where we're at. And the capabilities in this go well beyond what we're showing you here. I mean, we just touched on this a little bit, where you have the capability from with the resource. They have the ability to automatically schedule these if you don't want to handle these with the schedule boards. The capabilities that
David, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
There you go, Dave.
Yep,
sorry about that, everybody.
So a little bit of a misstep there. Are you getting any echo from this?
No, you're okay.
Okay, fine. So anyway, don't know what happened there because it showed everything was working on my side. So anyway, we're back to our schedule board. We see this has been completed. Let's go ahead. So we've got a lot of power built into this. Let's go ahead and talk about how do I move forward with this, right? So what do I do as the next steps? So what we've done to address this issue is we've developed this thing called a field service assessment. And what it is, it's a set of, it's a way that we go through a process to answer these questions. And these are the things that we typically hear, some of the fears, concerns of individuals. When they look at this software, they're very impressed by it. They want to move forward, but they're really not sure what the next step is. So the questions that we typically hear are this: will this software really provide the improved efficiencies and service delivery improvements my company needs? In other words, it looks good, it shows good, we see a lot of fancy colors, but what does it really do what we need? Will the solution be easy for field service technicians to use? So we demonstrated that through the mobile device, where we were swiping and clicking and talking to it and demonstrating kind of the ease of use. Will the mobile functionality allow us to execute all critical functions in the field? In other words, we talk about we can extend the desktop and we can send the cloud-based server and all of the information that's contained in the cloud out to the mobile client. Is that really possible? And what will this cost me, and how does it compare to the value? So to answer these questions, what we did is we came up with this turnkey field service assessment. And what the assessment consists of, and I'll go to the next slide now, is basically what we do is we do an interactive discussion with you, where we have this structured questionnaire with questions that speak to the value to your business of different types of categories. So dispatching efficiency, optimized delivery. And when we ask these questions, you indicate the value of this to your business. So in some cases, installation services may not be that important, and those questions may not represent much value. So we capture that, along with we capture kind of where you're at in the scale of what the possibilities are to maximize that versus where you're at now. And we develop this chart. So it's about an hour and a half interactive interview, asking these structured questions, and as a result of this, we come up with this chart that shows basically the blue bar on here is showing the value to your business, and that purplish pink bar is showing where you're at relative to the possibilities of what you could achieve within that area. So if you look at this, we're seeing a couple of things that stand out. One is the optimized delivery, the other is financial, and the other is the inventory. So those are all based on questions and answers in response to this assessment that we walk through with you. So let's look at how we take that and translate that into something. So when we were talking about optimized delivery, this may have been what we heard, where if you're not using some sort of system that has the capabilities we just showed you, you might be contacting and rescheduling technicians based on phone calls, based on text messages. You may need to call them up and see where they're at. So it may be this very interactive process that, you may have a technician that's close and ready, but you won't know that unless you actually get a hold of them on the phone. When a technician is on site, so now we're transitioning to on site, it may be difficult and time consuming to determine, what the warranty is, if there is warranty on that equipment, the service history, what's been done. It may be this is the third service that was performed on that piece of equipment. And maybe it's time to be replaced, or there's a defective part that keeps going out, or there's some defect that keeps causing the same issue. The other thing is that schedules, because of all of this manual intervention, schedules may be impossible to meet, and customers are not really sure when people will arrive. So that impacts a couple different things. One is your overall resource utilization and how much you're getting out of your technicians, and the other is customer satisfaction. So how do we answer that? So what we do is we understand those questions, and we come back and map that against what we know with the system. So we know that when you have those kind of issues, we have solutions for them. So we know that the mobile technology is key to this in order to be able to interactively get the location schedules, to create new work orders and get those dispatched immediately to your service technicians, and have them do it in a way where they're not driving all over town in an intelligent way. So we demonstrated some of that on the map, and some of that through the interaction with the mobile client. So when you're on site, we also demonstrated this. And this is another thing that can be brought out through this questionnaire that we go through with you, and then how we map things. When you're on site, can you access all the information you need? Can you see what was done to that piece of equipment? And the other thing, the last thing, which is important, is that with this mobile device, you can actually, rather than filling out all these pieces of paper and handing your customer a copy and having take it back to the office and re-enter it, now you can just go ahead and click and swipe and speak, and you have all the information you need captured to send an immediate work order summary or invoice out to your customer. So the other thing, so another section in there that showed this big gap between current functionality was inventory. And this is one it's becoming, it's just, I guess, at this maturity level, or it's more difficult. Maybe that's the better answer, but it's a lot of customers are not really sure where their inventory is at. They know they have some in trucks. They may have some, they may rely on the service technician to look at his truck and see when he needs something. But in general, the business may not know where their inventory is at. And that leads to a lot of ordering extra parts sometimes to keep them in the warehouse because you want to make sure you're not running short if it's something critical to your business. And it really, from just an overall cost effectiveness, as well as, when the service technician gets there, they still may not have the right part, leads to a lot of issues from a business standpoint. So how we answer that question is through basically some of the stuff I just demoed. Where you look at the inventory on your truck, you actually control that, which is not only a software feature, it's a process that you need to build in the discipline. So we give you the framework to do that discipline and the guidance to do it. Their drivers, and we demonstrated that they could look and see what they had on their truck and when it's getting low. So this doesn't work well unless your technicians are also using that information to see what they need and what they've got. You can automatically, let's say they get on site, they see the unit's bad, they need to order a unit. They can go ahead and create that purchase order request and get that keyed off to get a part ordered. But the key to that is that the system tracks it then against that work order. So we can actually create a purchase order, actually have that flagged against a specific work order, and as a result of that, when the part comes in, we can notify and trigger basically a work order to be scheduled to install that part. And I always call it, this is your sleep at night type of thing. So if you know where your inventory's at, and that's a lot of dollars floating around, I always say it gives owners and senior executives the ability to sleep better at night. So why is the FSA, which is our field service assessment, valuable to me? Number one is because it gives you a very good and accurate picture of how you stack up against the industry right now and capabilities in the industry. Not only in terms of, so not everything is going to be valuable to you, so we recognize that, and that's why we do the value statement. But you can see based on that value statement how you stack against capabilities in the industry. So it's a good way for you to help understand where your business is at relative to where your competition is going. The other thing, it gets us, and your issues become our issues, and that's so critical. So the things that plague you now become our, we are emotionally attached, is the way I describe it, to your issues by going through this, because we understand, as you're going through here, if you make statements, we record those down, so we understand the emotions and the issues that go behind where you're at and what you want to solve. And it also gives us an excellent basis. So when we get done with this, we can take this and we can turn around a very targeted demo so that we know where your highest values are. And sometimes those highest values may be relatively low cost to implement. And we can come back with something that's very targeted to you as a business, where we can say, these other features are nice, but if you had these features here, this would really be a significant impact to your business. So it helps us understand your business, prioritize what needs to be done, as well as come back with a proposal that is based on, the priorities in your business and the impact that it's going to have. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Clark. Sorry about the mechanical problems, but Dave, why don't you go ahead and take it away from here?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So from Microsoft's perspective, there are really 3 reasons why Turnkey is one of our premier partners in the U.S. for field service. The first one is that Turnkey was one of the first partners to ever become certified in Microsoft Field Service. They've simply been around longer and understand the product and the business process needs of field service organizations. Secondly, they have a very strong ERP practice. Field service can be very dependent upon billing and inventory systems, and partners who don't have a combination of the accounting and field service expertise tend to take longer to implement. This is not the case with Turnkey. And lastly, the Field Service Assessment Program, which Dave just spoke about, has been presented to the Microsoft Field Service team and is approved from both a product knowledge and business process improvement perspective. And it's becoming a model across the United States for field service implementations. So if you are one of these businesses that is based on customer appointments and scheduling, it may be in your interest to reach out to a certified Microsoft partner such as Turnkey for a discovery session.